we are here for the main session of this today's event, which is Ekal Study Circle on Rural Innovation and Entrepreneurship for Viksit Bharat. दो पैनलिस्ट हमारे बीच में हैं, जैसा अभी परिचय दिया गया, आनंद जी और यशवंत जी. प्रोफेसर विवेक इज़ ऑन दी वे, सो ही विल ज्वाइन इन सम टाइम. आज जो ऑडियंस है बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग ये है कि एक्सपीरियंस्ड जो अलग अलग सेक्टर से लोग हैं वो भी हैं, और जो न्यू जनरेशन है, सम ऑफ देम दे आर ऑल्सो हियर. सो आई एम वेरी वेरी हैप्पी एंड स्पेशली वेलकम द यंगस्टर्स फ्रॉम द दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी कॉलेजेस हियर. एकल स्टडी सर्कल का जो आइडिया इवॉल्व हुआ एकल में, एकल जैसा बताया गया 1 लाख गांव तक एकल की पहुंच है. करीब करीब 3 दशक से ज़्यादा का ग्रामीण लोगों के साथ में काम करने का अनुभव है. तो हमने सोचा कि उस एकल के अनुभव को, जो गांव की मिट्टी से निकला हुआ अनुभव है, उसको यहाँ कुछ बांटा जाए, और जो यहाँ का जो विजडम है, जो नॉलेज है, उसको किस प्रकार से वहाँ तक लेकर गया जाए. और हमारा ये हमेशा ही एक मूल विचार ये रहता है कि जब भी यहाँ से कोई गांव में जाए तो ये सोचकर नहीं जाए कि हम उनको कुछ बताने और सिखाने के लिए जा रहे हैं. तो पहली भावना ये लेके जाएं कि हम कुछ सीखने जा रहे हैं और कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट करने जा रहे हैं. तो किस प्रकार से ये दोनों जो एक इंटेलेक्ट प्रॉपर्टीज़ हैं उनको कैसे हम मर्ज कर पाएँ, और यहाँ जो डिस्कशन हो उसमें से कुछ बिंदु ऐसे जो जा कर के हम फील्ड पे इम्प्लीमेंट भी कर पाएँ. सो दिस द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द डिफरेंट कॉन्फ्रेंसेस, seminars which happens every nook and corner in city like Delhi, the difference here is that some of the discussion will go to the field. So आनंद जी आज यहाँ पर हैं, तो टीवी डिबेट्स में जैसे बताया भी गया, सो देर आर थॉट प्रोवोकिंग आइडियाज़ वो शेयर करते हैं. तो आज बट कुछ आपके आइडियाज़ ऐसे भी होंगे जो 1-2 साल में गांव में हो सकता है हम उसको इम्प्लीमेंट कर पाएँ. तो ये एक डिफरेंशिएटर है एकल स्टडी सर्कल का. और जो टॉपिक हमने लिया उसके पीछे का जो थॉट प्रोसेस था कि जब भी डेवलप्ड इंडिया, विकसित भारत, क्योंकि अभी विकसित भारत का एक बहुत एम्फेसिस है गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, लेकिन रियलिटी ये है कि जब भी हम कुछ बोलते हैं तो एक इमेज हमारा माइंड क्रिएट करता है, विजुअलाइज करते हैं. तो विकसित भारत जैसे ही हम बोलते हैं या डेवलप्ड इंडिया जब भी बोलते हैं, तो जो शहर के विकास की एक तस्वीर है वो कहीं ना कहीं इम्प्रिंट हो जाती है. तो पहले जो विकसित डेवलपमेंट का था, बड़े बड़े इंडस्ट्रीज़ थी, अब बड़े बड़े टेक कंपनीज माइंड में आ जाती हैं, अच्छे सिटीज़ माइंड में आ जाते हैं, वो आता है. गांव कहीं खो जाता है उसमें. और उस कारण से हमने आज का ये टॉपिक रखा कि अगर भारत को सही मायने में विकसित राष्ट्र बनना है तो क्या गाँव के अंदर जो इनोवेशन और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप है उसका मॉडल क्या हो, और क्या ऐसा है कि वो मॉडल वहाँ है ही नहीं या कभी था ही नहीं. ये कुछ परसेप्शन है, और विद ऑल ड्यू रिस्पेक्ट हमें मानना पड़ेगा कि अभी तक गांव के लिए बहुत न्याय नहीं हुआ है भारत में. अगर गांव की जब भी कोई बात होती है एक परसेप्शन बनता है, और परसेप्शन बहुत माध्यमों से बनता है. जैसे बचपन से हम बहुत सारी हिंदी मूवी देखते हुए बड़े हुए, तो कुछ सटल तरीके से कुछ मैसेज दिए जाते हैं जो हम अपना इम्बाइब करते हुए अननोइंगली बड़े होते हैं. जैसे नथिंग यू नो, आई एम नॉट ऑफेंडिंग एनीवन, बट ज़्यादातर हिंदी फिल्मों में क्या होता था, हर तीसरी फिल्म में 70s में एक बहुत अच्छा आदमी होता था, वो हमेशा पादरी होता था, और जो सबसे बुरा आदमी होता था वो एक मंदिर का पुजारी होता था. तो वी ग्रो अप थिंकिंग के जो पुजारी हैं वो सब गड़बड़ लोग हैं, पादरी जो है वो बहुत अच्छे लोग हैं. सो इसी तरह से किसी भी हिंदी मूवी में कोई गांव का आया तो उसे दिखाया गया वो इलिटरेट है, और एक वो शब्द निकला गांव का गंवार. आज तक कभी गुस्से में आके किसी ने सुना है कि शहर का गंवार है? ना, गंवार तो गांव में ही हो सकता है. तो ये जो धारणा है, इस धारणा को अगर गांव के अंदर यही था तो सिल्क रूट कैसे बना फिर? उस टाइम तो कलकत्ता और दिल्ली, बॉम्बे और ये टेक कंपनीज नहीं थी, तो वो जो एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप थी वो कहाँ थी? वो गाँव में थी कि शहरों में थी? अगर थी तो वो कहाँ चली गई? फिर हमें ये पढ़ा दिया गया कि हम केवल कृषि प्रधान देश हैं। तो जब भी अभी भी गाँव के विकास की बात आती है तो एक जगह अटक जाते हैं, कृषि। बियॉन्ड दैट क्या? तो उसको आज हम जो आज हमारा पैनल है उससे हम ये जानना चाहेंगे कि जो ये रूरल इनोवेशन है, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप है, और एक शब्द और यूज़ होता है जुगाड़, इंडियन जुगाड़, तो उस पर भी ज़्यादातर हंसा जाता है। अब उसके दो पर्सपेक्टिव हैं। एक तो जो पॉलिसी में जो लोग हैं या जो एक माइंडसेट से जब हम सोचते हैं तो जुगाड़ का मतलब है पैचवर्क। एक दूसरा नज़रिया ये है कि वो रूरल इनोवेशन है। अगर सिस्टम और पॉलिसी उस रूरल इनोवेशन को थोड़ा सा सहयोग कर दे, उसको प्रोटोटाइप करने में हेल्प कर दे, तो वो प्रॉपर इनोवेशन हो जाएगा, उसको सर्टिफिकेशन भी मिल जाएगा। तो ये जो धारणा है, ये जो धीरे धीरे बनी है रूरल इनोवेशन और रूरल एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को लेकर के, वो उस पे क्वेश्चन मार्क हैं। तो अब जब हम विकसित भारत की बात करते हैं तो आज के जो एस्टीम्ड पैनल है, हम चाहेंगे कि उस पे थोड़ा सा प्रकाश आप डालें कि किस प्रकार से जो गांव, जो भारत गांव में बसता है, उसमें जो इनोवेशन और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, उसका मॉडल क्या होना चाहिए, पुराना जो विजडम था उसको हम कैसे वापस ला सकते हैं। और आज हम जो आगे बढ़ेंगे तो सभी पैनलिस्ट अपना अपना पूरा जो पर्सपेक्टिव है वो रखेंगे और एट दी एंड ओपन हाउस होगा। प्रोफेसर विवेक अभी ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, तो उससे पहले मैं यशवंत जी से मैं शुरू करना चाहूँगा कि आपका जो पर्सपेक्टिव है इस एक आज का जो विषय हमने रखा है इनोवेशन और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप इन रूरल इंडिया, और किस प्रकार से वो माइलस्टोन बनेगा विकसित भारत के इस रास्ते को तय करने के लिए। यशवंत देशमुख जी।
धन्यवाद प्रवीण जी। मैं आज वक्ता नहीं हूँ, मैं आज श्रोता हूँ। ये गलत लिखा गया है क्योंकि इतनी कवायद हम लोगों ने इसलिए की कि दो सबसे अच्छे जो इस विषय पे वक्ता हो सकते थे, प्रोफेसर रंगनाथन हमारे बगल में हैं, प्रोफेसर विवेक भी आ रहे हैं, इनको हम सुन सकें। तो इसलिए मैं बुरी माफ़ी के साथ में अपनी भूमिका को कर्टेल करने वाला हूँ, बहुत बेरहमी से। टीवी का एंकर रहा हूँ इसलिए आज के ज़माने का नहीं, क्योंकि आज के ज़माने में एंकर्स बोलते ज़्यादा हैं, पैनलिस्ट को कम बोलने देते हैं। और हम और आनंद बहुत साथ में रह चुके हैं बहुत सारे पैनल्स पे। प्रोफेसर रंगनाथन मेहमान के तौर पर बुलाए गए हैं, लेकिन मैं इन्हें अपने परिवार का हिस्सा मानता हूँ, न केवल भाई की तरह से बल्कि एक वैचारिक परिवार जिसे हम कहें उस तरीके से नाते से भी। और बहुत अद्भुत पर्सनालिटी हैं। अद्भुत पर्सनालिटी इसलिए हैं क्योंकि ये जो शहर है ये बहुत विचित्र है। इस शहर का मीडिया उससे ज़्यादा विचित्र है और मीडिया का सर्कल परम विचित्र है। 30 साल के अनुभव में मुझे ये समझ में आया यहाँ पे कि आप अगर कुछ बोलते हैं तो बिना एजेंडे के आप नहीं बोल सकते, और अगर एजेंडे के साथ में बोलेंगे सबसे पहले आपका एजेंडा ढूंढा जाएगा, फिर आपकी रूट्स ढूंढी जाएंगी, फिर आपका वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट क्या है ये ढूंढा जाएगा। तो ये तमाम चीज़ें ढूंढने में एकाएक अजीबोगरीब व्यक्तित्व सामने आए, प्रोफेसर आनंद रंगनाथन, जिनके ऊपर जब लोग कूदे बहुत ज़ोर से कि ऐसा क्यों बोलते हैं, ज़रूर कुछ वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट होगा, तो पता लगा नहीं साहब ये साइंटिस्ट हैं, इनका कोई वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट नहीं हो सकता, नहीं तो पक्का कुछ और गड़बड़ है। अरे ये तो जेएनयू के निकले, मतलब करेला और नीम चढ़ा है। मतलब बंदा जेएनयू से निकल रहा है, अपनी लैब चला रहा है, इतने बड़े बड़े इनोवेशन कर रहा है, दुनिया भर के साइंटिफिक जर्नल्स में पेपर छप रहे हैं, हर कोई महीना 2 महीना ऐसा नहीं जाता जब इनकी लैब से कोई एक नई कटिंग एज आविष्कार का भविष्यवाणी ना हो रही हो दवाइयों के क्षेत्र में। और अब हम बोलें तो क्या बोलें, इसके बाद में क्या एजेंडा होगा। और फिर बंदा जब टीवी पे आके कोई बात फोर्सफुली अपने मन की रखता है, उस समय सारे लोग हतप्रभ रहते हैं कि इस पे अटैक क्या किया जाए। तो ये बड़ी विचित्र स्थिति है। और मुझे बहुत खुशी होती है जब आनंद बोलते हैं जितनी बातों को, जितना फोर्सफुली और जितना फियरलेसली बोलते हैं, दरअसल देश की मेधा को ऐसा होना चाहिए, यही होना चाहिए। और कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि ये दो अलग अलग कैसे रूप हो सकते हैं। दो अलग रूप नहीं है, यही एक रूप है। आप अगर देखेंगे तो दुनिया भर के बड़े से बड़े वैज्ञानिक हमेशा एक अपने स्पिरिचुअल रूप में अलग से सामने आए हैं। उनकी एक अपनी पर्सनालिटी, सोच विचार की, और अपने क्षेत्र के बियॉन्ड दूसरे क्षेत्रों पे भी उतने ही अधिकार के साथ में, समझ के साथ बोलने की। ये ईश्वर प्रदत्त होता है, ये इसमें कुछ ऐसा नहीं है। अगर आप और जितना मैं जानता हूँ, आनंद स्वयं बोलते हैं कि वो रिलीजियस नहीं है। अगर आप बोलेंगे तो शायद वो बोलेंगे अपने आप को कि मैं एथीस्ट हूँ, अगर आप उनसे पूछेंगे। लेकिन रिलीजियोसिटी और स्पिरिचुअलिटी दो अलग अलग चीज़ें हैं। और आप ये भी पाएंगे कि दुनिया के महानतम वैज्ञानिक बहुत बड़ी तादाद में स्पिरिचुअल लोग भी हुआ करते थे। उनका एक सोच, एक वो होता था। और ये जो अंदर का सत्व होता है ना, जब आप अपने क्षेत्र और अपने मूल उससे बियॉन्ड स्पिरिचुअलिटी में, अध्यात्म में रम के जब सोचते हैं और बोलते हैं, तो आपका जो अधिकार किसी भी मुद्दे पर, किसी भी इशू पे जब आप बोलते हैं, तो उसका सत्व अलग होता है। आपका गुस्सा भी आता है तो एक सात्विक क्रोध की तरह से आता है, क्योंकि आप निर्भीक होकर के, निर्भय होकर के अपने मन की बात रखते हैं, जिसमें आपका कोई एजेंडा या वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट नहीं होता। यही समस्या है जो आजकल खास तौर पर युवाओं के साथ में बहुत दिक्कतें हो रही है कि आप लोगों को जो सुनने देखने को मिलता है वो सामान्यतः किसी न किसी चीज़ में रूटेड आपको देखने को मिलता है। और आपकी आदत भी, अब गलत नहीं कहूँगा, ये आप लोगों की गलती नहीं है, ये शायद हमारी पीढ़ी ने, इस शहर ने उस तरीके की भांग इस कुएं में घोली है कि आपको आदत हो गई है कि पहले आप वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट देखो कि अगले का एजेंडा क्या है। लेकिन वंस इन अ टाइम, वंस इन अ मूवमेंट आपको प्रोफेसर रंगनाथन जैसे लोग भी मिल जाएंगे जो आपको अपनी बातों से इतना झकझकोर देंगे कि आप भी सोचेंगे एक बार जा कर के कि नहीं, मुझे सोचना है। तो मैं अपनी बात को यहीं विराम दूंगा, केवल डॉक्टर रंगनाथन को सुनने के लिए। जो आज का विषय है वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। इसमें भले ही ग्रामीण शब्द प्रवीण जी ने जोड़ दिया है, लेकिन सच्चाई ये है, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप नाम की जो चीज़ है, ये समस्या ग्रामीण से केवल रिलेटेड नहीं है। जितनी ग्रामीण है उतनी शहरी समस्या भी है। ये समस्या सिस्टम की भी नहीं है, ये समस्या धन की भी नहीं है, ये समस्या दिमागी है। और ख़ास तौर पे हालांकि मैं बहुत उत्तर दक्षिण नहीं करता हूँ, हम और आनंद दोनों एक बात पे एक मत है कि मैसूर पाक सबसे अच्छी मिठाई है जो कॉफ़ी के साथ में ली जानी चाहिए। हमारा उत्तर भारत का संवाद इतने तक ही सीमित है। लेकिन फिर भी चूंकि मैं बनारसी हूँ, इसलिए इतना जरूर कहूँगा कि उत्तर भारत की खास तौर पे हमारी एक समस्या है कि आज़ादी के 75 साल पहले से लेकर के आज़ादी के 75 साल, 150 साल में हमने केवल बाबुओं की फ़ौज तैयार की है। एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का कॉन्सेप्ट हमने अपने दिमाग से हटा दिया है। हम केवल नौकरी ढूंढ रहे हैं, ये हमारी दिमागी समस्या है। इसका और किसी से कोई लेना देना नहीं। मुझे याद है 93-94 में जब मैं पढ़ के निकला पत्रकारिता में, मुझे उस ज़माने में टीवी नहीं था, 3 कैंपस प्लेसमेंट हुए थे, और घर में माननीय नानाजी देशमुख के सामने बड़े सहज भाव से मैं गया कि काका मुझे ये 3 ऑफ़र मिले हैं। उन्होंने यूँ देखा, कोने रखा और मुझसे बोला कि सारे लोग नौकरी मांगते ही रहोगे या कोई नौकरी देने वाला भी बनेगा? तो तुम्हारे ये अपेक्षा नहीं थी मुझे कि तुम नौकरी के लिए करोगे। और उसी दिन सारी नौकरियों का मामला मेरा तिरुअंजलि में कोने हो गया। और मेरे पिताजी का एक पत्र जो मेरी माँ ने उनकी मृत्यु के बाद में मुझे दिया, लिख के गए। उनको, जब मैं विदेश में अपना काम बढ़ा रहा था, तो उनको एक बात की चिंता थी कि कहीं मैं भारत का काम बंद न कर दूं। उस पत्र में उन्होंने केवल एक बात लिखी कि तुम विदेश में कहीं पर भी जाओ, कुछ भी काम करो, लेकिन भारत का काम मत बंद करना, क्योंकि देश की सबसे बड़ी समस्या बेरोज़गारी है। और ऐसे में 10 रोजगार भी उत्पन्न करने वाला कोई काम करे तो देशभक्ति का उससे बड़ा कोई काम नहीं। इसलिए एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की जब बात होती है, गांधी जी के गांधी ग्राम स्वराज की जब बात होती है, हमारे यहाँ के तो गांव सारे स्वावलंबी थे। हम लोग तो एंटरप्रेन्योर हमेशा से रहे। इस लंबे विदेशी आक्रांताओं के दबाव, कॉलोनाइजेशन और उस पूरी शिक्षा व्यवस्था के चौपटीकरण में हम कब एक स्वावलंबी भारत से परावलंबी भारत में कन्वर्ट हुए, ये हमें ही नहीं पता। तो आज की तारीख में हम इस कीड़े को वापस कैसे जगाएं, हम वापस स्वावलंबी कैसे बने, और उस दिमागी जो अड़चन है उसको हम कैसे झकझकोर के तोड़ें। हम चाहेंगे कि डॉक्टर रंगनाथन से हम सुने। अभी लेटेस्ट उन्होंने बीच में बहुत बढ़िया बात लिखी थी। हमारे एक मंत्री महोदय ने बयान भी दिया कि भारत में जो एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं उन्हें क्या क्या करना चाहिए। मुझे लगा, मैं थोड़ा सकपकाया, फिर जब मैंने इनकी पोस्ट पढ़ी और इनका सुना कि नहीं, झंडा उठा लिया गया है, तो मैं बहुत खुश हुआ कि कम से कम एंटरप्रेन्योर्स की ओर से भी कोई बात बोलने वाला है। तो अब मैं केवल और केवल डॉक्टर रंगनाथन से सुनना चाहूँगा कि हम लोगों को वो बताएं अपने मन की बात क्या सोचते हैं, भारत उनके सपनों का कैसा है, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप उनके सपनों की कैसी है, और जो युवा अब आ रहे हैं, ग्रामीण हो चाहे क्षेत्र शहरी हो, वो किस तरीके से अपनी सोच बदलें। प्रोफेसर रंगनाथन प्लीज।
First of all, for inviting me, it's a real privilege and an honor. और यशवंत जी, मंजू जी, सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। यशवंत जी, मैं आपको अपनी वाइफ का फ़ोन नंबर दूंगा, जो अगर 5% कॉम्प्लीमेंट जो आपने दिए अगर वो मुझे दे दें तो मेरी ये हालत नहीं होगी, खाने को नहीं मिलता है। पर इट्स रियल ऑनर टू बी हियर। बहुत सारे रीजंस हैं कि मैं कह रहा हूँ ये ऑनर है, मैं एक एक करके वो बताऊँगा। लेकिन जब यशवंत जी ने ये कहा कि वी वुड लाइक यू टू कम फॉर दिस इवेंट, तो मैंने इनको वार्न किया था। मैंने कहा, यशवंत, मैं हर जगह सिर्फ एक बार ही बुलाया जाता हूँ। तो उन्होंने कहा, ये कैसे? तो मैंने कहा, पिछले साल एक कोलकाता में डिबेट हुई और मुझे उन्होंने आमंत्रित किया, और वो डिबेट का टॉपिक था मीडिया एज अ वॉच डॉग। तो मैं वहाँ गया, ममता जी के देश ही कह लीजिए अब तो। वहाँ गया और मैंने कहा, मीडिया एज अ वॉच डॉग कैसी बात कर रहे हैं, मीडिया एज अ लैप डॉग। आप लोग अव्वल नंबर के स्टूजेस हैं। जो सरकार आपको कहती है छापो, वो आप छापते हैं। जो सरकार कहती है मत छापो, वो आप नहीं छापते। किस चीज़ पैसे लेते हैं आप, सरकारी ऐड चलाते हैं, झूठ पे झूठ फैलाते हैं, फेक नैरेटिव चला आ रहा है, और आप अपने आप को वॉच डॉग कह रहे हैं। यू आर द लैप डॉग एंड द वर्स्ट कल्प्रिट इज टेलीग्राफ। जो कोलकाता का, वो मुझे पता नहीं था डिबेट वॉज स्पॉन्सर्ड बाय टेलीग्राफ। वहाँ से भागा, लोग कह रहे हैं सर 15 मिनट है एयरपोर्ट जाने, सर 10 मिनट बाकी एयरपोर्ट से। लकीली मैं पहुँच गया वहाँ पे। फिर एक साल पहले, करीबन 8 महीने पहले, दिल्ली की यूनिवर्सिटी में ही एक इवेंट पे मुझे बुलाया गया, एंड इट वाज पॉलिटिक्स एंड बियॉन्ड। तो मेरी टर्न आई, तो मैंने कहा, देखो भाई, आर्ट वी टायर्ड बैशिंग द पॉलिटिशियंस डे एंड नाइट। मतलब मैं तो एवरी नाइट मैं तो उनका बैंड बजाता रहता हूँ, तो हम थक चुके हैं। आई थिंक वी मस्ट कॉन्सेंट्रेट नाउ ऑन वॉट नीड्स आवर फोकस, विच इज़ अनदर आर्म ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी, विच इज़ जुडिशरी। वो हमेशा बच जाते हैं, जबकि असली घोटाला वहाँ पे है। तो मैंने कहा कि ये कैसा आर्म है डेमोक्रेसी का, जहाँ पे 50 मिलियन केसेस आर पेंडिंग, मोर देन द पॉपुलेशन ऑफ साउथ कोरिया, और ये लोग खुशी खुश घूम रहे हैं, औरों को फटकार रहे हैं। एट द पेस एट विच वी आर गोइंग, इट विल टेक अस 323 years to clear the backlog. 34% of all judicial positions in high courts are lying vacant. 21% of all judicial positions everywhere in India are lying vacant. There are some cases, 120,000 cases, that are more than 35 years old. Rape and POXO cases, 210,000 cases are still pending. There is rampant corruption in the judiciary. 9 सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजेस ने एनवलप दिया है सुप्रीम कोर्ट को, there is corruption, लेकिन आप कुछ कर नहीं रहे हैं. Nepotism is rampant, psychophancy is rampant. जज किसी और को अलाउ नहीं करते इलेक्ट करने के लिए. Only 10% of judges have declared their assets. Everywhere from top to bottom is corruption, corruption and corruption. लेकिन किसी को कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा उससे. 71% of under trials in India, prisoners in India are under trials. Bail refuse करे हुए जेल में ठूसे हुए हैं. Situation is calamitous, catastrophic. And the fact of the matter is we have only 20%, 20 judges per million population. America is 150. तो अगर किसी सेगमेंट को सुधारना है, वो सुधारना है हमें जुडिशरी को. देयर इज और मैंने नाम लिया एक पंजाब हरियाणा हाई कोर्ट का कि 34% ऑफ एवरीवन हु इज वर्किंग इन पंजाब इज रिलेटेड टू ईच अदर. लॉयर, जजेस, जुडिशियल वर्कर्स. मेरे क्या चल रहा है? इसको पहले सुधारो, पॉलिटिशियंस को बाद में गाली देंगे. और मैं बोलने के बाद मैं डायस पे वापस गया. द पर्सन सिटिंग नेक्स्ट टू मी वाज द चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट. मैं भूल गया कि मैं अपनी कार में आया था, उबर ली, वहां से भागा. तो मैंने यशवंत से कहा, यशवंत देख लो भाई, आई विल बी कॉल्ड ओनली वंस. उन्होंने कहा नहीं आइए. सो एज आई सेड, आई एम हियर एंड होपफुली आई विल बी कॉल्ड मोर देन वंस, बट इफ नॉट, that is also acceptable to me because it's an honor and a privilege to be here. The tremendous work that Ekal has done, I know it because I have written on it as well. और आपने इतनी अच्छी बात कही कि गांव और शहर का जो हमारे स्टीरियोटाइप हमने बना रखा है, वो स्टीरियोटाइप 70 साल से ये है कि किसी तरह से चलो तुम गांव में पैदा तो हो गए, उसको छोड़ो. Leaving the village is considered as a big thing, you know. If you look at the West, the developed West, going to the village is considered a big thing. They are deserting cities and going to a village. And especially in a completely interconnected world where, as COVID has shown, a brick and mortar office is completely redundant. It makes so much more sense to develop the villages so that people from the city could depopulate the city and go to the villages. But ये करने में हमें पता नहीं कितना time लगे प्रवीण जी. But I want to concentrate on something which is very close to my heart lately, और उस बारे में हम ज़्यादा बात नहीं कर रहे क्योंकि हम सिर्फ एक सेंटेंस या होर्डिंग जिसे कहते हैं ना, होर्डिंग पे जो लिखा है उस पे जा रहे हैं. और वो होर्डिंग पे क्या लिखा है? विकसित भारत, और उसके नीचे एस्ट्रिक्स लगा के लिखा है बाय 2047. सो एवरीवनस रेडी, थिंग्स आर बीइंग प्रिपेयर्ड दैट वी विल बी अ डेवलप्ड कंट्री, विकसित भारत बाय 2047. और मुझे लगता है कि हम हो सकते हैं, बट सिचुएशन क्या है उससे ग्रैपल करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. हमें ये जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है, what are the, if we have to be successful, and you can't be a developed country if you're not a success, what are the fundamentals of the success? आप सक्सेस को डिफाइन कैसे करेंगे, उसके कोर फंडामेंटल्स क्या हैं? और ये जानना आज के ही नहीं, पिछले 50-60 साल में ये नब तक पहुंचना बहुत मुश्किल होता है. बिकॉज एज द एडेज गोज, सक्सेस हाइड्स फेलियर्स. जो लोग सक्सेसफुल होते हैं वो अपने फेलियर्स ज़्यादा डिस्कस नहीं करते. खासकर अगर कोई पॉलिटिशियन है तो वो अपने फेलियर बिल्कुल ही डिस्कस नहीं करता. वो ओनली सक्सेस डिस्कस करता है. इस एनवायरनमेंट में अगर ग्लास हाफ फुल है या ग्लास हाफ एम्प्टी है, तो लोग कहते हैं कि नहीं, ग्लास ब्रिमिंग है, बाकी सब छोड़ो, एक लक्ष्य है तुम्हारा 2047 तक विकसित भारत, एंड दिस इज व्हाट we are going to be. We are going to succeed in this. My contention is, unless we realize what are the fundamentals, what makes people successful, unless we work towards them, just by putting a hoarding saying Viksit Bharat 2047, I'm afraid we're not going to be Viksit by that time. So who defines success? आप success को define कैसे करेंगे? अलग अलग parameters हैं. There are some general parameters, generalization, yes, but for example, कुछ आंकड़े, क्या इंडिया सक्सेसफुल नेशन हुआ है? अगर ये आप एक सवाल पूछें, हाँ या ना में अगर जवाब देना हो तो आप हाँ ही कहेंगे. क्यों? क्योंकि अगर आप एक डायरेक्शन देखें सक्सेस की, सो देयर आर पैरामीटर्स दैट डिफाइन सक्सेस. जैसे आप मान लीजिए, आप जनरल रिलेटिव सक्सेस की बात करें तो आई वुड से यस, इंडिया हैज़ बीन रिलेटिवली सक्सेसफुल, आवर ट्रेंड इज इन द राइट डायरेक्शन. अगर आप देखें 1947 में जब हमें आज़ादी मिली, कुछ आंकड़े मैं आपको देता हूं, अब आज से कंपेयर करें तो यस, वी बीन रिलेटिवली सक्सेसफुल. फॉर एग्जांपल, इन 1947 आवर लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी वाज 32 ईयर्स, 32 साल. कैन यू इमेजिन? आज इट इज 76 ईयर्स. इमेजिन somebody today saying that our life expectancy right now is 32 years, but it was in 1947. In 1947, our literacy rate was 12%. Today it is upwards of 86%. So yes, we've seen success. In 1947, our poverty rate was 71%. Today it is 4.5%. And the most troubling, in 1947, when we got independence, our infant mortality rate was 160. That means out of 1,000 babies that were born, 160 did not live to see 1 year, you know. That was the calamitous situation in 1947. Today, the infant mortality rate is 24. And in some states like Kerala, it has even breached European countries. The IMR is 6 or 7. So yes, we've seen relative success. And if you were to scrunch the timeline even further, not 75 years, but 10 years, then I would say we've been stunningly successful. मैं आपको कुछ parameters देता हूँ. The percentage of Indian population that is multi-dimensional poor, let's say 10 years ago, compared to now, was 29%. Today it is 11%. I would say that is stunning success. In the last 10 years, we have literally pulled 250 million people out of multi-dimensional poverty. This is the new metric that people use. में health आती है, wealth, prosperity, बहुत सारे HDI indices आते हैं. Multi-dimensional poverty. So 250 million Indians को आपने pull किया है multi-dimensional poverty से. I would say that is stunning success. In 2014, our foreign exchange reserves were 300 billion. Today, they have already crossed 700 billion. थोड़ा सा नीचे हो गए क्योंकि डॉलर exchange rate को stabilize करना था. But it's more than doubled. In 2014, our GDP per capita was $1,500. Today, it is $2,600. So yes, it's a stunning success. In 2014, we had 5 cities that had metro. Today, we have 20 cities that had metro. We had 74 airports 10 years ago. We have 148 airports today. Only 21,000 kilometers of railway lines were electrified. Today we have 63,000 railway lines electrified. We had 7 billion electronics exports in 2014. Today we have 23 billion electronics exports. And 10 years before, 60 years before 10 years, the length of highways that we had built, in the last 10 years, we've built half of that length. तभी मैं कहता हूँ गडकरी जी ह्यूमन नहीं है, एलियन है वो. और एक और माने में एलियन है क्योंकि उनका ही पॉडकास्ट में सुन रहा था. वो कह रहे थे मैं वो बेरियाट्रिक सर्जरी के लिए जा रहा था और वो बेरियाट्रिक सर्जरी के लिए गए और उससे पहले 5 प्लेट छोले भटूरे खा लिए. ये सिर्फ एलियन ही कर सकता है, ह्यूमन नहीं कर सकता. अनबिलीवेबल. So there's so many other parameters. For example, और ये जो wealth creators और distributors हैं, amongst the audience, they would appreciate this. 10 years ago, our AUM, assets under management in mutual funds, were 9 lakh crores. Today it is 63 lakh crores. So many other parameters. So, you know, we've had stunning success. Exemplified by, एक और आप ले लीजिए, अपना जो solar panel installation capacity था 10 years ago was 2 gigawatts. Today it is 100 gigawatts. And the most heartening of all, 10 years ago we had 350 startups. Today we have 120,000 startups. So yes, from relative success to stunning success, India is a success story. और अगर आप उस timeline को थोड़ा और scrunch करें, 75 साल ही नहीं, 10 साल ही नहीं, 1 साल. So we've been spectacularly successful. मैं आपको कुछ आंकड़े देता हूँ. Our monthly GST collections have been the highest ever. मैं पिछले 1 साल की बात कर रहा हूँ. Our number of vehicle sales have been the highest ever at 4.2 million units. Number of jobs created have been the highest ever at 47 million. Our PMI manufacturing index has been the highest ever at 59. Our inflation has been at a 5-year low of 3.5%. थोड़ा बढ़ गई थी अभी because of fluctuations again, but I'm talking of the last 1-year average. Number of income tax payees have been the highest ever at 68 million. Our central government debt to GDP ratio has been at a 5-year low of 56%. Our Gini coefficient, which rates inequality in a society, has been the lowest ever at 0.29. And the most heartening fact is that our stock market has been at the highest ever, last 1 year, में 85,000. So from relative success to stunning success to spectacular success, I would say we've seen it all. It's wonderful. लोग कहेंगे क्या बात कर रहे हो, कहाँ खड़े हो के तुम बोल रहे हो कि success देखो, fundamentals देखो. We've been success story. ऐसे ही तुम glass half fill, pessimist, this and that. पर मैं कहूँगा, yes, all that is true. And yes, it is true, but then why is it that today we have 300 million Indians living on 60 rupees a day? Why is it today that 150 million Indian children are out of school? Why is it today that 8 million Indian children are surviving as child labor? Why is it that 18 million Indians till today are bonded labor? Why is it that 34% of all Indian children under 5 are chronically malnourished and stunted? Why is it that 20% of all poor children have never been vaccinated? Why is it that 70% India is still without internet connectivity? Why is it that till today only 2% of adult Indians pay income tax? In the UK it is 66%. Why is it that today we have 76% of our labor force unskilled? Why is it today that we rank 111 in the World Hunger Index? And why is it today that our GDP per capita, we are ranked 136th, below even Sri Lanka and till a few months ago even Bangladesh? So clearly, while we've seen success, this side of the story also needs to be addressed. And this is what worries me. In our temptation to believe that yes, we are a spectacular success, we will override and forget this reality as well. And I don't want us to do that, because I believe, we truly believe, and it is the truth, India is at an inflection point. And an inflection point comes but once in a generation. Sometimes it skips a generation altogether. I believe our last inflection point was 1990 economic liberalization, and we took off. Whatever we are right now, whatever wealth, prosperity we have, is because of those steps we took in 1990. And I truly believe that we are at an inflection point. But I don't want us to miss this inflection point as well. I don't want us to be taxiing on the runway for 15, 20 minutes and then the pilot saying, ladies and gentlemen, I have detected some snag in the plane, and park the plane by the hangar. Because we've seen it all. This has happened before. And this is what I mean. We need to hop on from the treadmill to the travelator. You see, the thing with treadmill is that agar aap uske niche ka part crop up kar de dikhai na, so it gives the impression that you're walking, you're doing something, whereas your displacement is zero. And this is what we have been doing, huffing and puffing, but unfortunately going nowhere. We need to hop on to the travelator in order for us to realize a Viksit Bharat by 2047. So how do we do that? What is holding us back? What is the crux, nub? And I believe the nub is that we as a state, we as a citizenry, are confused about what our role should be. And that is the primary reason why we have that list of failures in addition to those list of successes. Why is it that the failures are holding us back? Because we as a state and as a citizenry are confused about what should be our roles. And let me explain that a bit further by taking a show of hands. If I were to ask you, please tell me one government or state policy in the last 75 years since independence that has, just one policy that has helped our economy grow the most. Our economy. Aap kya kahenge? Anyone? Just one policy. Please feel free to. Yes, sir. Absolutely fantastic, great idea, yes. Telecom, and I'll come to that sector as well. Liberalization, yes. Anybody else? Just one policy. Please feel free. That has helped our economy grow the most. Infrastructure, yes, absolutely, yes. Anyone else? Economic liberalization, fantastic. In fact, we mentioned that in 1990, our foreign exchange reserves were 3 billion. Today, they are 700 billion. In fact, we mortgaged 67 tons of our gold. Situation itni kharab thi. We loaded that gold onto the ships. The ships were about to land in Bank of England, near Bank of England. That was from there to now. So yes, one policy, economic liberalization, absolutely. Anything else? Yes, education policy, GST, absolutely. Yes, that is part of the economic liberalization. All of you have given the correct answers. But did you notice something? Because I framed the question in a square. And the square was, tell me one policy that has helped our economy grow. All your answers are correct, but all your answers are related to economy and the finance. What if I were to tell you that one single policy implemented in the last 75 years that has helped our economy grow the most has got nothing to do with the economy? It's the midday meal scheme. Every single day, 130 million Indian children go to school. Every single day, 130 million. And the parents send those children to school so that they may get a good quality education, they will get wiser. But more importantly, they will get a nutritious hot meal, which is right now mandated by our Supreme Court to be of a minimum of 430 kilocalories. So they're getting healthier and they're getting wiser every single day. And the person who had this idea and implemented it never even went to school, K. Kamraj. So next time, people of our economic socio-strata think that, oh, we need a politician who's an MA, BA, educated, graduate, postgraduate, doctor, scientist, engineer, wahi desh ko aage le jayega. Think again. Here is a man who never even went to school and who thought of and implemented a policy that has helped our economy grow the most. K. Kamraj. Million salutes to you. That, ladies and gentlemen, should be the role of the state. The role of the state is to create a healthier, wealthier, wiser, more adaptable workforce. The role of the state is not to use that workforce. The role of the state is to create that workforce and hand it to you, the wealth creators. Modern history has told us, whenever the state has used this workforce that it has created, the whole continents, forget about nations, have been obliterated, have been destroyed economically, strategically, in every which way. This is the role that which we are, the state, as a state is confused of. And I want to talk about it because now I have demarcated into healthier, wealthier, wiser, more adaptive workforce, more flexible workforce. And I contend that our state, forget about making a healthier, wealthier, wiser, more adaptive workforce, is doing the exact opposite. And whatever they are creating, they're not giving it to you, they're actually using it. And unless this confusion is lifted, the shroud of confusion that envelops the state is lifted, I'm afraid 2047 will remain a distant dream. Let me go one by one, at least the time I have, to talk about a couple of things in this demarcated strategy that I have told you. Let's begin from the back. The role of the state to create a healthier, wealthier, wiser, more adaptive, more flexible workforce. The fourth one, more adaptive, more flexible workforce. Did you know that 44% of Indian workforce, which is about 600 million Indians, it hovers from 585 million, some say it is 616 million now, but average 600 million. 44% of our Indian workforce is involved in agriculture, a sector that contributes only 13.5% to 14% to our GDP. This is the situation. 250 million to 300 million workforce Indians are involved in a sector that contributes pitifully to our growth, where from production to purchase, everything is archaic, everything is medieval. And what is the state doing? Far from correcting it, the state is perpetuating this vicious cycle. I want to demarcate this because I think this is very important, because it has an element of our villages as well that is involved in this. Because since I grew up, and I suppose even before me, all we've been hearing is that 70% of India is villages, 80% of Indian households are involved in agriculture. That is almost like a Boltzmann constant, it's never changed. Now, it's not a question that it should change. The question is, has it improved? That is the situation. So let us demarcate into what we produce, but more importantly, where we produce what we produce. And I'll tell you what catastrophe has already struck us. In the West, the percentage of labor force involved in agriculture is not more than 2%. Here we have 44%. Even in middle income economies, it barely goes more than 3.5% to 4%. Here we have happily condemned, that is the word, 300 million Indians in this sector. Where, now let me come to where we produce what we produce. 70 million hectares of Indian agricultural arable available land, almost 40% of all our agricultural land has been destroyed by severe droughts and floods in the last 6 years. 70 million hectares. And still we keep on doing this, egging our farmers to grow more and more on this, the rest of the land. Did you know 110,000 farmers have committed suicide in the last 10 years? More than 1 lakh farmers. Can you tell me any sector where there are so many suicides because of calamitous situation of the people who are in that sector? It's unfortunate if one suicide happens in the IT sector, but the fact is media talks about it for a week. Here 1 lakh farmers have committed suicide and we don't even bat an eyelid. 82% of all farmers and cropland are not insured. This is the situation we have. 35% of all our agriculture is dependent upon the elements. 35%. Now let me come to what we grow and then link it with where we grow it. India is the world's second largest producer of sugarcane. Every year we produce 500 billion kilograms of sugarcane. 500 billion kilograms. Now all of you know sugarcane is a massive water guzzler, is a very water intensive crop. In fact, the arable area required to grow sugarcane is only 7.2%, but the irrigable water required for that is 72%. In fact, the amount of water required to produce 500 billion kilograms of sugarcane is 1 quadrillion liters. I didn't even know the word quadrillion existed. I thought it finished after a trillion. So I've found out and given a perspective. That's the amount of water that is present in 10 Ganga Sagar dams. Drinking water, river water. That is the amount of water we are using to grow 500 billion kilograms of sugar cane. And sugar prices, they have halved in the last 6 years. And what are the politicians doing? They are increasing year upon year the MSP equivalent of sugarcane proudly. They are putting it in their manifesto. Grow more and more sugarcane. We will keep on procuring more and more sugarcane. We don't have water to irrigate. We don't need so much of sugarcane. But the state has forgotten what its role is for small benefits, for vote bank, for placating this vote bank. And I'll tell you why. Our water availability per capita has reduced by 45% in the last 46 years. It used to be 2,800 cubic meters. Today it is 1,400 cubic meters. According to United Nations, the water availability per capita required for civilized living is 1,700 cubic meters. So we are officially uncivilized right now. 78% of all river water during monsoon goes waste into the ocean. 3,000 billion cubic feet of Godavari water, river Godavari water during the monsoon goes waste into the ocean. What is the water requirement for the entire state of Tamil Nadu? 1,800 billion cubic feet. We should be doing something, but what are we doing? We are flagging off water trains. If you remember 5 years ago, there was a tremendous famine in water scarcity in Latur. And the politicians, they started flagging, cutting the ribbons for water trains, and they were proud that we are sending water trains there. It's nothing to be proud of. It is something to be ashamed of. We should be linking rivers, not sending water trains to parched areas. In fact, in the last 35 years, 5 governments have proposed. Supreme Court committee upon committee have sat. Engineers, geologists, so many people, environmentalists, agriculturists, have concluded India needs to link 30 rivers as soon as possible. We cannot sustain this kind of thing that we are doing with agriculture. What is the progress? Just last month, 35 years river linking has been going on. Just last month, Prime Minister Modi laid the foundation stone for the first Ken-Betwa river link. What is the state doing? It's not that the state is not doing anything. We now have the Narmada Dam, and Narmada Dam right now, it irrigates 2 million hectares of agricultural land across 3 states. It provides power to 1.3 million homes, and it gives tap drinking water to 33 million homes across 5 states. But here is the thing. Narmada Dam, the foundation stone was laid by Pandit Nehru, and it was inaugurated by Modi. One project, it has taken us 50 years to implement. Is this what the role of the state should be? One politician decided we cannot go on like this. We don't need to grow sugarcane like this. So, in fact, as luck would have it, he has again become the chief minister. I'm talking of Mr. Fadnavis. But when he was the chief minister first time round, he said, we can't go on like this. From now on, if any farmer in Maharashtra needs to grow sugarcane, he has to take government permission for it. And this was sheer genius, because we know in our country, you want to do anything, you want to take government permission, forget it. Main karunga hi nahi wo kaam. Within 3 months, he had to rescind on his order. I won't name the politician who forced him to take back his order. We have given him Padma Vibhushan. But the fact is, his factories were using the byproduct molasses of sugarcane. This is what the state is doing. And this is just talking about where we grow what we grow. What about what we grow? India produces 4,000 kilograms of rice per hectare. That is one of the lowest quantities you can grow per hectare. Even middle income rice growing countries grow 50% more than this. When it comes to maize, we grow 25% of the maximum capacity we can grow maize in. 70 million tons of our agricultural produce goes waste every year. 30% of all the fruits and vegetables that we grow waste every year. 30%. And of what we grow, India is the world's second largest consumer of chemical pesticides. We consume 60,000 tons of chemical pesticides every year. 30,000 Indians die of pesticide poisoning every year. Our food export refusal rate is one of the highest in the world, 7 times more than China. Foreign countries don't want to buy our food because it is laced with poison and pesticide. Forget about foreign countries. Even states in India, states that are allies, don't want to buy our food. For example, you had Karnataka, which has an ally in Punjab right now, Congress and AAP. Karnataka refused to buy Punjab rice. He said it is laced with poison, we don't have it, we don't want it. There are daily 3 trains that run from Punjab to Rajasthan, they are called cancer trains. Our water is polluted, our air is polluted, our land is polluted. What are we doing about it? One man said, enough is enough. We need to do something about it. And he heralded the reforms that, in my estimate, were the greatest reforms since independent India. I'm talking of the 3 farm reforms, 3 farm laws. I'm talking of Narendra Modi. But the moment he brought those 3 farm reforms, what happened? All hell broke loose. It was as if a cloud has descended on India, a cloud of anarchy. Highways were closed, parliament was shut down, people came onto the streets, they were called black laws, people died protesting, all sorts of things happened. The nation suffered an economic loss of 3,500 crores every day for a whole year. All the politicians, all of the political parties that said these are black laws, take them back. Each one of their parties' manifestos had verbatim these laws. I know it because I've read the manifesto, especially Congress party. Point number 11, point number 19, almost verbatim. What were these 3 farm laws? The first one was that the government will give choice to the farmers wherever you want to sell your produce. You can sell it in government mandis, APMCs, or you can sell it in private mandis. That is the bedrock hallmark of how economics functions. You give choice to the producer, to the consumer. How would you feel if the businessman amongst you got a fantastic product and you want to sell it, but the government says, sorry, you can't sell it on Amazon. You sell it on our government site that functions only 10 minutes in a whole day. What would you do? You would sue the pants of the government. But then we decided for the farmers, no, we won't allow this. Why? because listening to Manoj Kumar's songs of Mere Desh Ki Dharti, Sona Ogle, we have elevated those farmers to a demigod status. They are saying, we don't want to be demigods, we are business people. We treat us like businessmen, treat us like you treat yourself. But no, they have become untouchables. And that is the first, when you stop following someone, you start worshipping that person. And that is exactly what has happened. We've started worshipping the farmers. What was the second law? The second law was we would do away with the emergency provisions of the Essential Commodities Act. Now this was very important because through a bureaucratic semantics or play of words, for the last 60 years, somebody in the government would suddenly decide that what you are storing is actually hoarding. Storage को hoarding में change करके non-bailable warrant लगा दिया farmer पे. As a result, no businessman or no businesswoman worth his or her salt was prepared to make these state-of-the-art 24/7 godowns where perishable agricultural produce could be stored. And you've seen routinely, month upon month, how farmers come and dump all their produce, potatoes, onions, spices, even milk onto the roads. They can't store it. That was the second law. The fact of the matter is that, as I said, 70 million tons of Indian agricultural produce goes waste. And I haven't even come to the food grains. We now produce 320 million tons of food grains. Do you know what our storage capacity is? 145 million tons. Half of what we produce, we cannot even store. And yet we had this Essential Commodities Act. That was the second. What was the third one? That you will have contract farming, which is again the hallmark of how business should be conducted. Any businessman who wants to sell a produce should be free to go to a producer and say, look, why are you producing rice which is loss-making, which is creating so much harm to the environment? Why don't you produce coffee? I will use your services and give me coffee. That is how businesses are supposed to be conducted. But Congress said no. And the irony was that in the then erstwhile Congress-ruled state of Punjab, it had already implemented a contract farming act. Act बना दिया था. Captain Amrinder Singh was implementing it. जो आज ये लोग अदानी अंबानी को करप्ट कह रहे हैं, उनको 3,000 crores दिए उन लोगों ने. Come, we want contract farming. But the moment Modi brought these laws, all hell broke loose. And the darkest day in this country since independence was November 19, 2021, when Modi repealed those laws. That was the darkest day. That said that India will bow down to anarchy, to street veto. We still do not know what our role should be. We will bend down to people who are protesting, who want our role to be as confused as it always was. But in many ways, I don't blame the politicians, because politicians को elections जीतने हैं, they are hypocritical. In fact, आप उनका अगर blood test कराएंगे, कोलेस्ट्रॉल से ज़्यादा hypocrisy आएगी. अरे कोलेस्ट्रॉल ठीक है, hypocrisy बहुत आ गई. ये क्या करूँ डॉक्टर साहब? कोई नहीं, politics करते रहिए. So I don't blame Modi or politicians. What got my goat was the Supreme Court. When one hallowed arm of the democracy that is supposed to be above and beyond the hypocrisy or the doublespeak of politicians, supposed to act in India's interest. Yes, it was a dark day when farm laws were repealed, but it was a darker day when Supreme Court asked public in general, all we see are people who are against the farm laws. Where are the people who are for the farm laws? And saying this, Supreme Court put a stay on the farm laws. So in a sense, Supreme Court was asking those 300 million farmers who are doing what they should be doing, producing what they should be producing in the far-flung areas of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Orissa, rice-growing states, Andhra Pradesh, to drop everything, hop on to the nearest bullock cart or a car or a taxi or a bus or a train, and come to Tilak Mark, stand outside Supreme Court and say, my lord, we are for the farm laws. Is that how democracy works? No. That is how anarchy works. And lo and behold, a week after Supreme Court stayed, those Supreme Court's own committee disclosed the recommendations that 82% of all farmers and farm lobbies were for the farm laws. Is this how a state is supposed to behave? This is the tragedy of our country. Let me give you another example because that is very pertinent. Of course, we need a more flexible workforce, more adaptable workforce. But we need a more wiser workforce as well. A more educated workforce will go a long way in fulfilling our dreams of a Viksit Bharat. Where do we stand as far as a wiser workforce is concerned? There is a 1.1 million shortfall of school teachers in this country right now. 19% of all school teacher vacancies are lying vacant. This is the reality I'm telling you. 25% is teacher absenteeism rate. 8% of all Indian schools are single teacher schools. 40% of all rural Indian schools do not have a functional toilet. No wonder parents don't want to send their children there, especially girl child. 52% of all Indian high school students cannot do a simple addition subtraction sum. 48% of all Indian high school students cannot string up a sentence in a mother tongue or a national language or English. 21% of all Indian high schools drop out after high school. In some states, the pupil to teacher ratio is as high as 60:1 in Bihar. This is the situation of our schools. Is it any better when we graduate to the university, when we have those tens, hundreds of millions of school children going to the university? Well, let's see the data. We have only 1,100 universities. Only 1,100 universities. None of those universities are in the top 200 ranks of all the universities of the world. None of them. There is a gross enrollment ratio of only 25%. 56% of all Indian graduates are unemployable. I repeat, not unemployed, but unemployable. They don't have the requisite skills to be employed. 80% of all Indian engineering graduates are unemployable. 30 years ago, 33% of all unemployed youth were educated. Today it is 66%. This is the situation. The Indian government in the last 5 years alone has shut down 800 universities and engineering colleges, saying that they're absolute trash. They're actually not universities and engineering colleges, they're just shacks. Government itself has shut down universities. So schools, universities. Is that how you would generate a wiser workforce that will give us a Viksit Bharat? I'm afraid somewhere along the line, we missed the bus. And I explained to you why. You see, I am a child of the 70s and the 80s. Yashwantji is the 60s and the 50s, but anyway, that's another matter. And I have gone through the period when none of us believed that every Indian will have access to a telephone. None of us believed. I think it was unbelievable. At that point of time, I was a child, we had, 1 million landline connections. We had 700 million Indian population. I said, how on earth will every Indian, we used to wait, trunk call hota tha, I don't know, many of you might remember, right? And we used to get that after 2 years of waiting, that Bakelite rotary phone. Youngsters won't even remember how, that dial used to work. But then, this is the journey of a nation where technology doesn't help, but leapfrogging technology helps. Then came a technology of mobile telephony that completely circumvented the need to us to put 700 million, 800 million lines. And that is what I believe, that nations' histories and their future is changed not by technologies, but by leapfrogging technologies. And one came, and unfortunately it went. COVID shows us the way. We simply cannot keep on making more and more brick and mortar universities and schools. They will never be enough. Our demand is just so high. Our supply, as it is pitiful, 1,100 universities. We simply cannot have so many universities. E-learning was the way, and COVID showed us. But you have to make it attractive to the pupil, to the student. We failed that test. Right now, what we need is a revolution of e-learning. That will be a leapfrogging technology, not a technology, but we are still keeping on inaugurating and cutting ribbons of making more and more brick and mortar universities. I'm not saying there is no need for that. I'm not saying there is no need for JNU. There is. But the fact of the matter is, we need to think laterally. We need to think collaterally as well. This is where we missed the bus. And I think I have just maybe 10 minutes left, so I have bashed the state enough. So why spare the citizenry? You know, when I said that state is confused about its role, I also bracketed it with the fact that we as people, citizens, are also confused about it, and both go hand in hand. And I dare say our confusion is more dire. The need to remove our confusion is more immediate than the state's confusion. I'll explain to you why. Now, you see, I'm all for a welfare state. For me, we cannot ever become developed if we are not a welfare state. We would wipe out tens, hundreds of millions of Indians if we were not a welfare state. Welfare state is important. It is crucial for India. Had Modi not built 120 million toilets, did you know every new toilet built has saved that household upwards of 50,000 rupees in health costs? And 7 months ago, a paper came in Scientific Journal that it is saving more than 1 lakh lives of infants because a new toilet means less diseases, more healthier life. Welfare is crucial. Had Modi not distributed 100 million gas connections through Ujjwala, did you know every year 150,000 lives are saved directly because of Ujjwala scheme? Because even I didn't know this. The biggest cause for infant mortality in India is not some disease. It is household pollution. वो फूक फूक के जो चूल्हा जलता है, that is what kills the infant. So welfare saves lives. So many other examples. Did you know 110 million tap water connections that Modi has supplied, the under 5 diarrheal deaths have been slashed by half? Welfareism is saving lives. I don't even want to talk about 430 million mudra loans that have, made people stand up on their feet. 600 million bank accounts, 380 million Ayushman cards, where more than the population of United Kingdom has been treated through them. 75 million people have been treated. So welfareism is important. And I would say India's greatest achievement since independence is to have vaccinated 1 billion Indian twice over within a year. Welfareism saves lives. India needs to be a welfare state. But here is the thing. Welfareism is possible only in a capitalist state. A socialist state cannot be socialist in nature. This is what we have to understand. And we as citizens, forget about understanding. We haven't even realized the gravity of the situation. So it is not about welfareism. It is about drawing a line between what is welfareism and what is freebieism. We are not drawing that line. Unless we draw that line, ladies and gentlemen, India is staring at a black hole, at an abyss from where escape is impossible. Now, yes, drawing that line is not that easy. For a politician, will never draw that line. वो तो कहेंगे for every freebie is a welfareism for politician. वो कहेगा define, I am giving you free electricity, I am giving you, this is welfareism. Who draws that line? And I admit, it is an abstract, the line is not that easy to draw, but each one of us has to draw that line. And I'll tell you why, by taking a show of hands, even though I might sound very patronizing, so please bear with me. How many of you here, please raise your hands, love your families? Of course, thank you. All the hands have gone up, as expected. How many of your families are in debt? Okay, one hand. So 99% of your families are not in debt, and all of you love your families. Here again, pardon my patronizing you, but again, a raise of hands. How many of you love India? Please raise your hands. Okay, all hands, except that communist out there, he is not. You're not from JNU, are you, sir? No, just joking. So all of you love your families. All of you love your families. None of your families are in debt. All of you love India. Then why the hell are you sleeping so tight and comfortably knowing that India is in a debt of 260 lakh crores? नींद कैसे आ रही है आप लोगों को? मुझे Why are we sleeping so comfortably knowing that our states have ratcheted up a debt of 85 lakh crores? Who's going to pay for this? There is no such thing as free lunch. And we are not America. America right now has a debt of $38 trillion. It might as well be 50 trillion. They don't care. वो तो छापेंगे नोट अपना helicopter money. We don't have that luxury. Somebody has to pay for this. And you know, when some of you applauded when I said 10 years ago we had 350 startups, today we have 120,000, उनको पकड़ेगी सरकार सबसे पहले. Corporate tax, somebody has to pay for this. And it is going worse and worse and worse because we are not able to draw that line. So who draws that line? I have myself personally draw that line. Each one of you has to draw it. But I have defined what a freebie is and what a welfareism is. For me, welfareism is using Indian tax, our taxpayers' money for the welfare of the country. I already gave you some schemes. And freebieism is using taxpayers' money against the interest of the country for placating a vote bank, for placating something that would win a politician or make a win for a political party. Freebie is for appeasement. Freebie is anti-national. Welfareism is pro-national. Freebie is anti. Let me give you a couple of examples to make things very clear for you. In 2005, celebrated economist Dr. Manmohan Singh, the late Manmohan Singh, and Dr. Montek Singh Ahluwalia said, India cannot function the way it is functioning right now. We will go bankrupt in just doling out the pensions. Because while in 1980, 2% of our revenue was involved in giving pensions, right now it is 10 times that. I'm talking 2005, 20%. So they came up with a new scheme called the NPS, New Pension System, whereby the government would contribute, I think, 10%, and the citizen has to contribute 14%, as opposed to what is now called the OPS or the old pension scheme, where you draw the 50% of your last drawn out salary, and it was tax-free as well. Soon, most states and central governments implemented it. And that is how we saved a lot of money. We saved ourselves from becoming bankrupt. Until in 2022, another celebrated economist, Rahul Gandhi, why are you laughing? Of course, he's a celebrated economist. It's just one of the domains that he's an expert in. He went to Himachal Pradesh and he told the Himachalis, if you vote for Congress, I will junk my own party scheme that my own prime ministers brought, and I will revert to the OPS. I will junk the scheme of NPS that Congress brought, and I will go back to the OPS if you vote for me. Now, Himachal had 1.3 lakh government employees, 1.6 lakh pensioners. Congress won. And the first person who stood up and said, this is wrong, you will go bankrupt, was not Narendra Modi. Narendra Modi did not coin the word revdi, meaning freebie. It was Dr. Montek Singh Ahluwalia, congressman. He said, what are you doing? You will go bankrupt. The RBI governor stood up and said, stop this. You are spending now 5 times more on OPS than you were on NPS. You will go bankrupt. Nobody listened. Until 6 months ago, the chief minister of Himachal Pradesh stood in the floor of the assembly and said, we actually are bankrupt. We do not have money to pay salaries to our MLAs. They have mortgaged Himachal Bhavan in Delhi. They were ready to tax a second toilet of a house. Right now, 74% of all Himachal's tax revenue are going in propping up this scheme. Small state like Himachal has a debt of 98 lakh crores. Are any of us worried about this? And it's not just about Himachal. When the reversion happened, when people could see that, look, Congress won, it was like a domino effect. State after state junked the NPS and reverted to OPS. Punjab, Chhattisgarh, even BJP ruled states. They had dharnas and sit-ins for our narrow apolitical interests, vested interests. We did not remove the confusion that shrouds us. And as a result, right now, Indian states are paying 5 lakh crores in propping up these pension schemes. This is what freebie is. This is for placating a vote bank. This is for appeasing. This is against national interest. And I'll end by talking about the mother of all freebies, because that is also important. That is the MSP, minimum support price. We just don't realize it because it doesn't even enter our psyche, the socio-economic strata I'm talking about here. We say, ये तो farmers का लेना देना है, agriculture का हमें कुछ नहीं है. Let me open your eyes here. MSP is the biggest freebie, and if we do not put a hold on this, forget 2047, even 2097 seems a distant dream. Let me give you the data. Now, yes, it's a relic, the Soviet Union era relic. When we did, perhaps you can say we needed to grow wheat and rice, we needed to guarantee farmers their income because we needed that amount. We were growing in the 60s and 70s, only 80 million tons. We could barely feed ourselves. In fact, we were importing third grade American wheat, PL84 from America, unless Borlaug's, high yielding wheat variety came into being. But right now we are producing 4 times that. India is producing 320 million tons of food grain, and we can store only half of it. We don't have a storage capacity. We can only store 145 million tons. The other is stored in the open. Just yesterday, we had these troubling photos of tens of thousands of jute bags filled with wheat and rice going waste because we could not store it in Punjab. The calamitous situation is such that every year, far from curbing, asking farmers not to grow more and more wheat and rice, our politicians are incentivizing them to grow more and more. Every year we are procuring more and more of wheat and rice. Because simple economics tells you that if you guarantee payment for any product, that person is going to produce only that product. So the farmers of Punjab and Haryana and now other states are producing only wheat and rice because the government has promised procurement. Every year the government is spending, just the central government, 3 lakh crores in procuring. We proudly proclaim it in their manifestos that we are increasing the MSP. Not only that, economics also tells you, so has the RBI governed, that MSP has a direct correlation with increase in inflation. That is pure economics. You can't do anything about it. Thirdly, you had the ICAIR come up with a report that in the last 16 years, Indian farmers have lost 45 lakh crores because of faulty agricultural produce and MSP pricing. They are setting the price. 62% of the farmers are saying, we don't want you to set the price for our agricultural produce. Businessmen set their price of their own product. Why are you forcing us to do it? But the calamitous situation is that we keep on increasing more and more of MSP, so much so that now we had Rahul Gandhi demanding a guarantee of MSP for all agricultural produce. And rightly the central government and the BJP mocked it and said, are you mad? We are going to be spending 16 lakhs to 20 lakh crores every year if we guarantee MSP on every agricultural produce. We will go bankrupt. BJP was right.
Anandji.
But then came, 2 minutes, then came Haryana elections. And BJP promised exactly the same to all Haryana farmers. MSP on every agricultural produce. And what was the result? BJP won. This is how, at the altar of political and narrow expediency, we are sacrificing the welfare of the state, the progress of the state. And lastly, if you believe that this is only to do with economics, this will not harm us physically. MSP is killing you. And I'll explain why. You see, with the advent of MSP, almost like a sarkari job, where you guarantee the farmer money if he grows something, logically the farmer started growing only more and more wheat and rice, and rice is a water guzzler. So the water table of Punjab and Haryana went down alarmingly. And for once, the politicians were alarmed. And they brought out a law saying that rice can only be sowed to coincide with the onset of monsoon, which was very logical. But then the problem was that the rice harvesting season also got delayed. And now it coincides with the onset of winter. Last November, those of you in Delhi would know the AQI, Air Quality Index of Delhi, was 999. The acceptable limit is 30. And it's only 999 because वो मीटर में 3 readings है, हो सकता है 4,000, 5,000 हो. The fact is, every year 35 million tons of rice stubble is burnt by the farmers. 70,000 farmlands are burnt every year on average. The amount of carbon dioxide emission that comes out of parali stubble burning is 145 million tons. The amount of carbon dioxide from all Indian transport, 250 million tons. 149 million tons to isse aa raha hai. Let me give you a perspective because it might not register with you. Every year at the onset of winter, when farmers have to turn over the crops and they burn rice stubble, an area of 17,900 square kilometers, which is equivalent to 12 times the size of Delhi, is on fire every day for a month right next to Delhi. And you believe MSP does not affect you? We are spending right now 150 times more on treating the respiratory diseases resulting from parali burning than we would had we procured happy seeder machines that would take out the rice stubble in an eco-friendly way. The cost of those happy seeder machines, $70 million. The cost of the ad budget, government ad budget of Punjab, Haryana and central government, $1,300 million. That is why I say, we were a banana republic ever since we became a republic. But ladies and gentlemen, हमें तो banana republic से republic बनाना है. If we don't understand, if we don't lift this confusion that shrouds us, if we don't lift the confusion or implore the state to lift the confusion that shrouds the state, how are we going to become Viksit? But in the hope that we do, I end there. Thank you very much for your...
Thank you, Anand ji. Thank you so much.